Thank you very much. And looking forward, well, the fast forward is not only for digital business, the banking business, but also for regulations and financial crime. And because of the fast speed forward, we do get to the burdens of how do we get that burden to the client rather than sorting out the regulations inside the companies or financial companies. So before going into the details, I would just tell you like what we do and why is it wise to listen to us for talking about the customer experience and regulatory burden for that. We work with a lot of international, like we work with international companies worldwide, and it's mainly online businesses. We're 3 years in the market in Lithuania, and we've been growing really fast. Not the numbers yet, as Revolut just mentioned, but not least than that. At the moment, we are the third company in Lithuania after Revolut and Paysera, based on the growth levels and the client funds and transaction volumes that we do in the company. The reasons, sorry, it just doesn't seem to work. Okay, yeah. So the growth numbers I've mentioned just a bit, and there were key stages that we were going through at ConnectPay from the beginning when we were established. The first one was a really huge business acceleration, and we didn't have any breaks, I guess, or really minor ones. We did speed on as any startup would do to accelerate, to grow really fast. After a year and a half, we did have an inspection of our regulator. We did get the kick in the teeth, and we were sanctioned, and that basically taught us a lot of lessons of how to do business in a sustainable way. So that this was the year and a half of really big growth, and in the second year and a half, we did focused on the compliance first, and that's where we understood that, okay, this is not a joke, and we did need to work with the regulator. We do need to look after the regulations as well if we want to build a value of the company and if you want to be in the business for a very long term. So we did have the team recharge, or the whole organization was restructured. We did have the focus on the key industries, and there were a lot of internal controls introduced. And we still specify on the clients that we worked with. We did implement a lot of rules and a lot of industry know-how, and we learned a lot about the clients itself. We did have a lot of, and still have a lot of, independent audits introduced, so we can run in the as much as possible secure environment in terms of the risk controls, working with the clients and providing the services. And now we are at the third stage where we need to, or where we balance the business growth and the compliance together, where we prioritize the clients and the products and customer experience, where we listen to the clients and do the trainings and feedbacks with the clients as well. We recently launched a lot of new products, or updated products with the online banking and websites and on all the digital products that we give our clients. But most of all, what we are now where we have the solid ground now is that the customer-focused risk and compliance program. So where we really have to look at the criteria and what we learned from the 2.5 years of the previous activities, and where we see there's a lot of traps that a lot of financial institutions, fintech especially, because and banks as well, they fall into when we talk about compliance. And I'm sure if I was live, I would really want to have your raised hands to answer one of the questions of how many of you have received the KYC or ongoing due diligence questions from your banking institutions, trying to transactions stopped, or even worse, your company bank accounts closed or blocked for dubious reasons, suspicious reasons, or asked a couple of questions, or not even a couple of questions, so 20 questions in one email, trying to justify one transaction or the other. So at the beginning, when we were at the compliance stage, our compliance team and KYC team, who did a really good job, sometimes would go far away really of asking really intimate questions for the clients, just to go through investigation and justify that this transaction is really okay to go through and there's nothing suspicious about that. What we've noticed also, because people who work at the compliance level or like in KYC or transaction monitoring, they do work with a lot of financial crime and they see a lot of financial crime. There's a lot of development in that area going on. So it's very important, and what we did identified in our compliance program, not to look at every single customer or the client as the criminal, and always have this presumption of innocence. So we as financial institutions are not the ones who should make judgments or judge the client on the activities, because we see a lot what's happening with the transactions, but our role is not to judge, is basically, keep the client as the client and provide the best service we can. The second one criteria for the program that we think is super important is asking and explaining why you asked the question and why do you need this information, because the information we ask is it is sensitive, and if you don't explain why, nobody wants to provide that. And before, what we had was more of a demand for information, and we changed that into the actual request and actually explanation and explaining and justifying the context of why you need that. The third criteria, which is really important for user experience, is the product testing and the client feedbacks. So during the product development, after the product is developed, in every stage, that's where we look at how to engage the clients and get the best out of their feedbacks. And as an example, we're launching payment initiation service in Finland. And although we did have the Finnish and English languages as part of the product, only about after talking and testing with potential clients, we realized we need the Swedish language as well incorporated into the product, because there's a lot of Swedes or Swedish talkers live in Finland as well. The fourth one is the client-driven training and focus industry. So we do focus on high risk partially as well, and we do invite a lot of clients to explain how they use the product, how they use the financial services, and what do they see. So for us, it's a quick, a shortcut to the market research, and we get a lot of feedback because they can compare how they use the other products, how the banks works, how the fintech products works, and we do have the training from them, and we know what is important in providing this best customer experience for them as well. And then the last one is actually working with the team on customer communications. So the guidelines, the training, then the quality assurance, if you meet that, if not, then, and it goes back to the criteria number one, where we say, the client is the client, and he or she is always right. And we are not here to judge. We are here to provide the best and the best experience service for the clients. So I think when we talk about the trends, we identified with our learnings, with our story of the 3 years so far in the market, that the risk and compliance management needs to become a competitive advantage of ours, and rather than a growth stopper. So it shouldn't be stopping the business growth. It should be supplementing, and the customers should be attracted by the level of security and the trust that we develop, and then the protection offered by the company. Because the key message, that if you ask the question on security or know your customer information or transactional information, is not trying to prove that you do something wrong, but it's actually to protect you from something happen wrong in the future, and to sustain the business on both sides. So this is pretty much it, and thanks a lot for this short introduction and listening to the presentation.